Hi, people. It's Born and Red. It's been a while since us three shared a screen, lads, but there are many reasons for that. International breaks, unprecedented circumstances, but
Someone mute the mic. Who's that in the background, man? Kya ho raha
God
hai?
knows who that is. God knows
Yeah,
who that
Jay
is.
got some
It's,
relatives
it's,
around
it's
the way.
probably you. It's probably your toilet.
I
You
think
just
it's
flushed it. That's why
think
you're
it's
late.
think it's Christmas actually in his house.
It can't be mine, man. Is it mine?
I might be. It might be in Waxies. It might be in Waxies. But look, in a week where system formations, system tweaks, if our right back can defend again, has been on the tip of every Liverpool fan's tongue. But we're going to take a step back and analyze things properly, and for the next hour or so. But before that, I should ask how the lads have been. It's been a while. It's good to see your booty after a while. So, Jean, how was playing Asim against Rangers? Been trying to capture every little detail and content for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. Now you know what I do for these lot.
No, now you know I'm never doing it again. You get it right? I'm never doing that shit again, man. I can't. You can't. The thing is, you can't even. You know me. I can't even enjoy a goal. I can't even enjoy a celebration because of this guy. Because he told me make sure you get the goal, and obviously there's me trying to hide, getting my phone, I'm trying to record for him. Oh, it was a nightmare if I'm honest. I'm not doing it again. So yeah, but
No,
all in all,
you did a good job,
I
man.
got
You
the
did a
two
good
goals,
job.
man.
And it was good to see Conroy as well, coming down from all the way from Scotland and having a good experience. So big up Conroy if he's watching. Avi, business or holiday? Plenty of snaps from San Diego, man.
Yeah, and it's been a busy 3 weeks. As you know, Asim getting blocked by content creators all over the shop on Twitter.
It took him 30
Uh,
seconds.
it's all good. It's all listen. It's all love. It's all love. Yeah, and just wrapping up work. Work's just been busy, but I'm glad to be back, boys. Glad to be back on the finest Friday night show, Born and Red. Make sure you please like and subscribe. And big up Ali A, by the way. Ali A has been one of my biggest loyalist supporters from day
Big up,
one. He
man. Big
followed me
up.
at the Trippers. He followed me at the Big Man's channel, and now he's followed me here. So big respect to Ali.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant. And Unks is in the house as well. Unks gave us a few snaps of the sunset in Luton, and they were brilliant. So big up, Unks, and hope to see you on Sunday on the way up. So what we're going through, Brighton, Diaz, Rangers. There's a few topics today, but look, I've got my recorder today, and I'm going to play. Yeah, we didn't start well. We conceded first, and what's going on? It's been happening because again, it's just a broken record, guys. We didn't start well, but Klopp came out after Brighton and said Brighton surprised us, but I'm not having that. We had a 2-week break after the international break. We had plenty of time to assess. And as mentioned this on our road to show on the road sort of post-match reaction, where I know they've got a new manager, but we shouldn't be surprised by the way that Brighton are going to play. So why were we surprised?
I'll let Avi go. Go on.
I said it at the time after full time. I said it was a weird, very weird comment because De Zerbi, who's come from Sassuolo, and I think he's had a stint in Russia somewhere, I think, or Ukraine maybe, before he took the Brighton job. There's not much that he could have changed in the first 2-3 weeks. And if you look at the Sassuolo team that he managed for 3 years, they play in a similar style, high press, attractive football. And for Klopp to come out and said, we were surprised and, we didn't know what element of, what they were going to bring to the table. I think that was a bit of a naive comment. I thought it was a very amateur comment to make. When you look at Klopp and the manager that he is, that you're telling me that you and the coaching staff and the scouting team and, the analysts didn't know what kind of Brighton to expect. Like, come on, there's not a lot that De Zerbi would have changed in that 2-3 weeks of his early tenure at Brighton. So yeah, that didn't really wash with me what Klopp was saying. But again, we concede early. It's been the story of our season, and it's literally a lot of shows are the same. They're regurgitating the same thing, and we're doing the same. I'm not saying that we're doing anything different. We're regurgitating the same thing. I don't know what we can pinpoint it to. What is it? It can't be a mental block. It can't be anything to do with nerves because this team has been together for 5-6 years. So what is it? Is it exhaustion? I mean, I'm lost for words right now of where we are. I mean, Rangers was the first sort of steps towards some kind of redemption in this season. we saw a formation change, we saw player change, we saw, more chances created. But it is Rangers at the end of the day as well, so with caution. But yeah, that's what I thought of Klopp's comments in a nutshell.
Yeah. Gene, Brighton obviously had a plan. It's not a plan that we haven't seen before. It was making the pitch bigger, enticing the press from Liverpool and trying to find the space, on the sides and, behind Fabinho and Thiago. And we saw Henderson slightly higher up, and he went even higher, the longer the game got on, which sort of helped us, pin them back a bit. But the amount of times, I think I've never felt like that at Anfield before. I think I need to go back as Manchester City at home, because Anfield is different at the moment. Teams are coming in and coming at Anfield, breaking. And you sense that feeling around the ground. Oh no, it's happening again. We're going to concede again. And all of a sudden we're chasing the game. But this time we went 2 goals down. And it sort of felt like, Liverpool are sort of letting the shackles off at 2-0 down. Here we go. We've got nothing to lose. And we're coming back, but it's sort of getting rid of a lot of energy. And you sometimes see Liverpool get that winner, but it's not coming bar Newcastle and Ajax. And Brighton were fully deserving of their draw. And if they went away with 3 points, we couldn't really complain, could we?
We couldn't. And, looking at the game, it was easy for them, especially in the first 25 minutes. That was the most difficult thing to actually understand, the way they were receiving the ball. I thought their double pivot caused us so much problems.
They were playing like the home team. Sorry to interrupt.
They did.
They played like the home team.
They did.
They were playing as if we were playing. They were the Liverpool team playing at Anfield. All this 12th man stuff. Like, they were the ones with the ascendancy, and we were the away team. Go on, sorry, Jim.
It was, and and this is how it felt, Avi, when they were receiving the ball. They were so comfortable in possession of the ball, and that's a Brighton side. Their double pivot causes problems. They received the ball easily. As soon as we tried to press, they had players that were good enough to receive the ball, like the Grosses and the McAllisters and the Trossards. They bypassed our midfield on numerous occasions, and we felt like a yard slower, like we have done all season. And yeah, look, we can sort of try to pinpoint it at so many different things, but it is a difficult one to try to understand. But they're a proper footballing side, Asim, and we saw that in the first 25 minutes. They could have been 4-0 up within 25 minutes. Welbeck missed a sitter. They had another chance as well when Alisson saved, and we completely went at the races.
Avi, you and Gene have used the same word, pinpoint here. We don't really not sure, is it a mental block, is it a physical block? I'm going to try to pinpoint it, and I'm going to question you. You can both answer it. We're planning to play in the system. I think I don't know how is it. I don't try.
Something
try
shine.
That. What? Sorry.
Something shine.
Something shine.
A message of shine. He's a Ukrainian.
Okay.
Ukrainian name.
And he touches on it. Klopp plays the same old formation week in, week out. Teams have figured this out. Klopp needs to learn to mix things up, become unpredictable. Fortress Anfield is no more. And just to sort of go off his point are we trying to play the same system? And you saw it against Brighton, where look, they were brave, and let's give credit to where credit is due to Brighton, where they split the centre backs, and we had to go. They enticed the press, and their centre backs were split, but very, very deep. And you saw the effects of it in the second half, where the likes of Trossard, they were making the pitch bigger, so forcing us. And we're Liverpool, we're always going to play on the front foot. So they enticed the press and got out the sides. If they didn't get out the sides, they popped it long to Welbeck, who won his fair share of duels against Van Dijk. And then they turned over possessions, won the second ball, and they were off from the halfway line from the inverted positions of Gross and Trossard. So they had a plan, and we were just falling, we were playing to that plan and falling to it. But we've seen that plan many times, and Chelsea play a similar system as well. And we've sort of we've got better at dominating, and we've had those brilliant cup finals last season, by which I thought at the end of it, we really got grips to their system. So it wasn't a surprise. But are we trying to play the same system? And they were trying to drag Fabinho and Thiago further up towards their sort of centre backs and then spinning. And all of a sudden, you saw Thiago and Fabinho running towards our goal. So is it a point of now we just don't have the legs anymore, Avi?
It's to do with the legs. Yes, there's an element of that, a huge element of that. And it's the personnel, Asim. I mean, we've tried Harvey Elliott on that right-hand side, Jewish still out on him. We've tried Hendo there. And he hasn't got the legs at 32. How much is left in the tank in him? considering the games that he's played over the last 5, 6, 7 years for this football club under Klopp. It goes back to, look, it's like a broken record. We were talking about Tuchemani. If Tuchemani was there on Tuesday, the Rangers game, he would be perfect for this 4-2-3-1, but as a 4-2-4 as well. We could change the variables that we can change in quick halves, right? Tuchemani was the perfect midfielder, and that's why it has knocked us for 6. And I've said that repeatedly as well. We need a combative midfielder. You can stick with the 4-3-3, but your personnel, the way Trent plays, that Trent, you could say, look, has been shortchanged by midfield, but Trent's very own form has suffered too. Individually, as him as a player, his form has suffered. He scored a world of a free kick on Tuesday, and he will still have these glaringly great moments. But at the moment, there is loss of form in most of the players. Matip, I thought he was awful against Brighton. Van Dijk, he would have cleared that, and on 9 times out of 10 he clears that. But what's he doing with his left foot? The substitutions didn't work, so it's collectively the Brighton game. We should have seen it out at 3-2, but we didn't. And yeah, it's the loss of form, the loss of system. And Klopp said it. He alluded to it after the not the AX game. What was the game where he said we've got to reinvent ourselves very quickly in the season?
Yeah.
That tells me that your pre-season, wherever they went off to in Austria and France, what was that then? What did you do for those 6 weeks on pre-season? Did you not work on new formations, new systems? Because Pep's done it. Pep's done it and implemented Haaland, and all he's got Haaland to do is stay in that 6-yard box, become that fox in the box. And look at the goals that he's scoring. They're very similar. Tap-ins, knock-ins, first time just headering it. His goals have just come in that similar position. And I don't know what we're doing and how we're trying to integrate Darwin Nunez without changing the formation. So it begs the question, and this goes back to the coaches. We can say we need players and whatnot and so forth, but the coaches that have done the work in preseason have ultimately failed us too.
And also, just before you go, in terms of the Brighton game and as a whole, look, we went with Carvalho playing on our left hand side, and I found that a bit baffling because I know some of them came back at that time. We've got Jota, Nunez, and Diaz. When I saw the team lineup, one of them had to start that game because you can't throw in a 17-year-old.
If we're coming into the season already 7-8 games in, and we're worried about they've just come back from international, whether they were in South America like Diaz and Nunez were. If we're doing that already, we have big worries.
Nunez hasn't even started half the games. He was out with the lead. These players are fit enough to play, and this is the thing that worries me.
If we were midway through the season, I can understand. Carvalho's come in, that's fine, and he would have had the bedding in the season for the first 4 or 5 months. I understand that, but to say that Darwin Nunez and Luis Diaz have only flew in on Thursday, and the fitness coach said they're not ready. That is absolute BS that's coming out.
Well, Avi, that's how sports science. This is the modern game, isn't it? If they're in the red zone and coming home, not training, I think he mentioned it.
Asim, it's not worked. We've had this metric system. We can tell or we can predict when there's going to be an injury coming. Last season it didn't work well.
We have
for us.
injuries every other week.
It's not worked well for us, and I tweeted that as well. I said we've brought in these experts who, it's a Silicon Valley actually from California, really nearby me, who work out when a player is close to picking up a knock. Where it hasn't obviously worked for Thiago, it hasn't worked for Naby Keita this season. So what are we trying to do? The technology has failed.
But those are the extremes. They made out a straw. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the look. How many times have Man City been missing? They're missing their both centre backs against United. They had Rodri missing. So look, whether it's Carvalho, and I'm glad you mentioned Carvalho, because when we were struggling to sort of really get to grips with their system, is that the sort of people say Liverpool miss Mane. I think when we're not really playing well and it's a bit of a shock to us, I think that's the not only time, but it's a lot. Though that's the main time where we miss someone like Mane. Mane was used to when we were not playing well. Again, I refer back to that game at Manchester City. He comes and he had the cojones to come and collect the ball and progress us. And we could also hit him with a ping, and he could put his chest out and control the ball and turn. But Carvalho, to none of his fault, to fault of his own, he's just not physically big enough to do that. So, and then he kept on coming deeper and deeper and deeper, and he just, anyone could have been hooked off. Let's be fair. Anyone for the first 23, 25, 30 minutes, they were all bad. Thiago couldn't string a pass together. But Gene, do you really think we miss Mane in those moments where something's not right and he just could come deep, calm everyone down and push us a further 5-10 yards up the field?
Look, it's easy said that we miss Mane, and you're right, because it's these type of games where Mane would is the warrior type of player who'd receive the ball, take us up 10 yards. He became a man in these type of situations. So yeah, look, in that game, I can see why people will say we miss Mane in that sort of game. But look, we were missing Diaz, we were missing Jota, we were missing Nunez. So these were our 3 new young players that we've signed that were supposedly going to come in and take over that front 3 roles, front 3 roles. So it's easy to say we miss Mane. Yes, of course, any team in world football is going to miss Mane, especially in a game like this when we need somebody to grab the game by the scruff of its neck. But look, I'm not going to still sit here and say, yeah, we miss Mane. I'm not prepared to do that, Yasin.
We suddenly, after the whole drama, 2-0, 2-2, 3-2, we found ourselves, with the 10-15 minutes to go ahead. But why we even mentioned it on the WhatsApp thread, why we were all saying a Brighton goal is coming up. And Trossard, I think we titled the YouTube post-match reaction, Trossard we made Trossard look like Hazard. And although he's been brilliant against us many times and he scored a hat-trick on this occasion, but the way they were going down the middle, you just saw a goal coming. Why can't we control games?
And you mentioned Danny Welbeck was brilliant at that role. He dropped back as soon as we broke those lines of midfield, and then he had all the space in the world to pick his pass, whether it was to pick the passes to Trossard or who's the other fella on the wing? Gross, who's moving in and around. He had all the space in the world, and it was inevitable because the way the season's panned out, I wasn't confident that we were going to see this through at 3-2. We were going to see this out at 3-2. So we all thought either they'll score or maybe we might score. But I tell you what changed is, and Klopp's been very stubborn with this and naive, was the substitutions. What he's doing, bringing Milner on for Tsimikas and then dropping Hendo off, I thought had a really good second half. I thought Hendo had a really good second half, and he brought on, who did he bring on for Hendo? Harvey Elliott. Who couldn't get at 3-2 up. I don't know what you're doing. What are you doing? It's like you need your captain on there. I don't care whether
again, it's a question of premeditated subs.
Yeah, could do with the fitness thing. It comes back to the fitness thing. But then, then obviously the fitness team effectively have cost us 2 points there, an extra 2 points there. Then
look, this is the biggest issue, isn't it? Look, I know in that game against Brighton, we always question Klopp's in-game management, let's say, in terms of substitutions, and I did find it baffling. I know he brought Diaz on at half time, but then to bring Milner and Harvey on when you're going for a winner, when you've got other players on the bench, I expected more from us. I expected us to go out and bring a bit more attacking threat, or actually bring on some players who can actually proper solidify the game when we went to 3-2 up. We never looked comfortable at 3-2, and to be fair, I was at the game, Avi. You could just tell even amongst the crowd, we were lucky in a sense. That third goal was very, very lucky that it was an own goal. But you could sense it that whenever Brighton went forward, they did look dangerous because they had the players that were hurting us, and that goal was coming.
I thought once Elliot came on, and I don't know if Lallana came on before Elliot came on for them. I thought, okay, they've got no choice but to chase the game, and we're just going to counter them. But it just didn't happen, and credit to them. They kept chasing for that equalizer, and they got it in the end. But this much talked about formation, guys. Finally, it arrived on Tuesday night, and we have to caveat this again, with the fact that Rangers are a poor side. I don't care if they went to the final of the Europa last season. But there were some signs, a lot of signs actually, where this system could suit us, and there was a lot of talk about this formation even in the summer, especially when we brought back Elliott from injury and Carvalho from Fulham with these inverted number 10s. But now we saw that. But I think, is it a formation, Cheen, that we're going to see, going forward, or are we going to revert back to the 4-3-3 because it's Arsenal and because it's suited, Liverpool against a poor side, against a 5-4-1 low block? It suited us playing that 4-2-3-1 system. Although I think, was it the quotations of Klopp? He called it a 4-4-2. But whatever it was, it was a system that suited us, and in particular, our right back Trent.
Look, we said it was for me. It was a perfect sort of game to actually try something like that out, and it worked perfectly. The way Jota dropped in the hole was fantastic. His interlink play was really, really good.
His link up play was sort of world class, brilliant.
And to be fair, that's an aspect of his game where, let's face the music, we all know it wasn't that great. So you can see improvements in his game. And Jota's the type of player that, he'll never reach his peak. There'll always be improvement in his game. He'll keep improving. He'll keep improving. And he did really, really well in let's say when he dropped it into that number 10 role. I like the system, and the system actually allowed Nunez to make them runs. We looked like we were in tangent. The players looked like they knew what they were doing. It wasn't. And another thing is the double pivot 6. That's Hendo's best position. So I don't like Hendo in the 8, any of the 8s. So when you've got two players who are actually really playing in their actual positions, it just makes it a lot easier. And you mentioned Trent. Look, the onus wasn't on Trent to be our creator, our main player that's going to bomb forward. He could be an actual right back in that game, and that's what he was, a right back. That's all he was in that game, and he did really, really well. We didn't see any of these, Hollywood balls, let's say, or in terms of him so far forward where they'd leave space in behind. He stayed in his position. He won his one-on-ones, and we looked a lot more compact. We looked ready. Will we see that against Arsenal? Look, they're a good side. They actually play the 4-2-3-1. So it'll be interesting to see if we go like to like. I personally think Klopp's going to go for tried and tested. We don't know what's, obviously, Avi will probably tell us what's happening with Thiago, because he did actually let us know on that same night that he's injured. So no comment. But he probably will let us know what's going on. But in terms of Thiago, if he doesn't start,
what's happened with
remember,
Thiago?
he said he's out, and I said no, he meant Thiago Silva.
I got called a dickhead.
I called him a clown.
I got called a dickhead from Asim.
Because I thought he was referring to Thiago Silva.
I got a right mind to block Asim now on Twitter as well.
Well, look, my question to you, Avi, is against Arsenal. Is this formation good enough to Arsenal? Because look, I think Gene, Arsenal play a very similar formation to us, where Xhaka is playing in the 8. Odegaard is their creative player, so they're playing in a single pivot with Partey. So how are we going to combat that if we're going to play in a 4-2-3-1, Avi?
I tell you why their system, they play the 4-3-1 really well this season, is because Odegaard is a natural 10. He isn't a forward man. He is a natural 10, and he's settled in this Arsenal team, and he's where he's flourishing now with goals, assists. He can create more. Do I want us to go with a 4-2-3-1 against Arsenal? I think, funnily enough, it's a game where we can afford to go 4-2-3-1 because they play with the 4 and we can play with our 4. They have pace. We have natural pace. They have Partey. They have Xhaka. We have Thiago and Hendo. We can risk playing it against them because it's like for like almost. They might play a little bit better because they have a natural 10 in Odegaard. Whether we have Jota or Salah who can drop in with that 10 and play as effectively as that's another story. But I don't think we should.
Midfield. Don't you think we'll get outnumbered in midfield?
Why would we get outnumbered by field?
We play with the 4-2-3-1, aren't we? Because Odegaard is more comfortable in the 8 than Jota. Yeah. So they've got Xhaka, Jota, and Xhaka, Odegaard, and Partey against our 2.
But if you see the work rate, and I don't know if we can bring it up, but if you saw the work rate of Jota and Diaz against Rangers, their work rate was, well, we know Diaz has got a great work rate, but Jota especially, the work rate that he produced, I think he can replicate that against Arsenal at the Emirates. I really think that we should go 4-3-3. I think we get exposed anyway, Asim, with the 4-3-3, just because of legs. I think
and personnel as well, Asim. Who are you going to play in the 8? Harvey Elliott.
Sorry?
Who are you going to play? If we go 4-3-3,
I'd play Hendo. But I'd play 4-3-3 and go like for like. But I just make sure Trent doesn't go gung-ho. And this is what I think is the problem with Liverpool. They've overworked it. Why look, I don't want Trent, the highest man on the pitch. That's what I think.
No, I get that, especially against Arsenal.
I think there needs to be some balance. And like Klopp said, whatever formation you play, there will be some weakness. There's always gaps on the field, and that's where the job of the management team is to work it out. But I think against a 4-2-3-1, I think they'll overrun us in midfield. That's my concern, because I think they're more comfortable. Those 3 are more comfortable.
They are comfortable on the ball. They can beat us.
What you don't want is Jota in coming into. He's more comfortable from the 9 to the 10 in the false 9 position and, sort of going to side in those sort of areas. But what you don't want him is running back and to make sure he's helping out the midfield because we outrun.
Look, it's a fair point, and the thing is, their midfield, every single player is comfortable on the ball. It's not like we're playing some Latupa off the street. These guys are actual footballers, and in terms of us, I think 4-3. If look, I've watched us play in a 4-3-3. If Trent isn't going to bomb forward, it's going to be back to Hendo in the 8. Where me and you are fighting after the game, saying he can't play that position. We're going to be going for that, but we can only play a 6. And he's playing in that 8. We don't like it. I don't want to be in that. And you know what? If it means this is why, in a way, I don't mind going at Arsenal because I think with our front 4, and yeah, their defenders, I know that people can turn on and say, yeah, they've been fantastic. They haven't faced a Liverpool yet, Arsenal. Yeah. So if we went with our front 4, we would cause them havoc. Their defense, I know Saliba and all this guys, they've made it out. He's the next Van Dijk, and yeah, he's had a good start to the season, blah, blah, blah. But they've not faced a Liverpool. We would cause them real problems.
Look, no doubt they've got their own fair share of concerns because they like to play a 4-3-3, a 2-3-5 off the ball. Even though I've checked the sort of heat maps, Ben White, because of his natural attributes, doesn't go as forward as a Trent he's a bit similar to Kyle Walker, where at times he tucks in, where his position in sort of overall average positions is not as high as Trent. But on the other side, they like Zinchenko to come and play and control the midfield and come in those areas. But now they've got Salah to worry about. So, like you guys are saying, whatever formation or style they play, they need to worry about our boys as well.
I think right now, and I think, which is weird because he didn't score, but I thought his off the ball work and with the ball and the spaces that he was creating, I don't think we can drop Nunez right now. And we've done this before where he scored in the Community Shield. We didn't start him against Fulham, but he came on and changed the game. He needs to be playing now. The momentum is with him now. Like, he needs to be playing. He got his chances. McGregor was absolutely brilliant on Tuesday. On another day, Nunez gets a brace, hat-trick at most, right? He needs to be starting. Maybe we could switch and bring Bobby in to protect the midfield a little bit more. And you could probably do it better than Jota, but I think if we're going to play Arsenal, right, and we know that they will play with a 4-2-4, 4-2-3-1, we can. This is the game that we can go like for like. Against City, I do have my observations, right, and I think we should have reservations about playing that system against City. But I think with Arsenal, because they play and because the pace that they bring, I think we can match them, even for pace, movement.
But Avi, Gene, why should, just going off Avi's, why should we play with Arsenal? And I know, look, there's obvious golfing class, but Arsenal are playing well and they're top of the league. And I don't want to call Arsenal a B-Tech Manchester City, but if you have a look at the way they play with the single pivot, even though Bernardo's slightly deeper than Xhaka this season, but the way that Zinchenko comes in those sort of half spaces in midfield, and they've got the Odegaard, the Kevin De Bruyne, they've got Jesus, not as good as Haaland.
There is a golfing class. And you can't, and City will, another thing with City is City dominate the midfield as him. If you look at their, like, Grealish and these guys, they come inside a lot more, whereas Arsenal's wingers are predominantly, they're not wingers, their front three, let's say, are predominantly actual wingers, whereas if City's like to come inside, Bernardo Silva's a completely different type of player. They're a different kettle of fish.
Maybe this team needs to start playing off the cuff too. Maybe it just needs the shackles off for this season, maybe, until we get the midfielder that Klopp wants or the midfielders that Klopp needs, right? Maybe this season we should play a bit more daring. Maybe they just can't play the same rigid, constructed, robotic system that they've been fed with and channeled in for the last 4 or 5 years. So this could be the season where, what, let's go with the 4-2-3-1. Yes, we might get our hands burnt against the best, but I'm pretty sure we'll win our fair share of games too. So I think it's a perfect opportunity on Sunday to play the system, stick with it. We created loads of chances. I think we created 20 chances, 10 on target, and look, Nunez should have scored. Diaz had 2 good chances. Salah had chances, we were creating, and yes, it was Rangers, and they ain't the behemoth team that we think they, that we played against. But at the end of the day, we can only beat what's in front of us and play football. And that was maybe the first sort of phase of, let's put this now as a standard and as a procedure going forward, playing the 4-2-3-1.
And hopefully, Avi, I think it'll relieve some pressure on the defense because the reliance isn't on Trent to bomb forward, and then our right hand side isn't exposed. We'll always have the four at the back, and we'll have the two players who say we'll have our 2 6s. So and then with the hour into the front four, go on, show us what you've got, sort of thing. So I think it'll solidify us defensively a bit more as well.
Look, I don't agree. I don't disagree with you guys. 100% that 4-2-3-1 is generally a system, especially on that night. The way Trent was deep, and especially the 3-2-5 system that we played in the build-up, and the Shimikas, wider and higher. It was a system that was built for Trent. He's been under the microscope for the last week or so. He's been and he's been affected. He's been affected, no doubt about it. You can tell just through his body language. But the way he, popped up that free kick, it just shows you his mentality of the blood. And I hope he has a good birthday today as well. But I think the 4-3-3 is not because I know everyone's talking about we can't play for the 4-3-3, just like Avi said, because we lost our legs. To some extent, I agree with that, but I think it's just the way we're playing it. That's
but as we haven't got the personnel to play the 4-3-3.
I mean, it's the way we're playing it. Why? Because why should we expect Trent to be the highest guy on the field? And also, this fascination about the right-sided midfielder to be roaming around. It's the way we're playing the right-sided midfielder. Why can't we just go back to basics and get a bit of balance into this team again, where Hendo is still covering, Trent in those higher positions? He did it from a deeper position against, Rangers. But over the last few years, where we've seen him come and just drop into that right-sided midfielder role where Trent is higher, that's my main concern, is because Harvey Elliott and Hendo are too high. And when we lose the ball, we're in no man's land. That's my problem. And this, like just Emo Shine, I'm sorry you pronounce it wrong. We do not have an issue scoring goals this season. We're creating chances in every single game, guys. So our issue is because we're conceding goals, and because of this, the teams are just got the ball too much. Our counter press has been brilliant, but we're taking too longer to win the ball back. And when the opposition has got the ball, they've got more chance to create things.
The thing is, Asim, if Jota was fit and firing, let's say at the start of the season, I would have said, yeah, I agree with you. I think because Nunez came in, we wanted to play with the progressive 8, and that's why we just thought, let's stick with it. Because Jota wasn't available. Now Jota's available. Jota's, Nunez, a Salah front three with let's say the number 8 that doesn't bomb forward, and then you've still got the Thiago and you've got the creativity with the Thiago and Trent. That probably does allow it. But because we had Nunez, we tweaked the way we played, and let's face the tweak didn't work because he got injured. Sorry, he got the red card. Jota wasn't available. We had a couple of extra niggles within our side, which made it difficult. And then we sort of struggled, and that's had a knock-on effect from the attackers to the midfield and the defense. But Evan Shine's right. We just have conceded so many goals. We're up against it in every single game because we're 1-0 down. Sorry, and that's been our biggest issue.
Avi, do you want to come on into that?
No, I think Gina said it right. I honestly do believe that a signing of a classy midfielder would have papered over more cracks over this season, maybe. But I thought it would have given us that protection that defense needs. That defense is leaking goals because of the person in front of them. We saw Klopp go at Fabinho that day against Brighton. We saw it. Fabinho is, dare I say, a shadow of the player that we've seen him from previous seasons. And when your 6 isn't doing well, right, it transcends onto the players either side of him. Thiago's been good. Thiago's been playing well. But, Hendo's come back now. I thought, again, Hendo played well against Brighton second half. It honestly is to do with personnel at the moment and loss of form as well, Asim. Like Robertson. Robertson wasn't at the races this season. Virgil, maybe there's an eye on that World Cup that he doesn't want to miss. Matip, made mistakes against Brighton. Trent's form, the England selection must be playing up on his mind. And then the front three who haven't gelled yet. The Rangers was the first game where I saw Diaz, Jota, Nunez, Salah creating. They wanted to play alongside each other. We haven't seen that in previous weeks or previous months where the front three, that fluid front three, have wanted to play with one another. And we saw that, I think, for the first time against Rangers.
Look, I agree with that. The 4-2-3-1 with the three narrow forwards of Jota, Diaz, and who's the other one? Nunez. They were very narrow, and it obviously helps the big man. But look, I think Arsenal, it's not a coincidence. Arsenal and City, as ever, in City's case, are up, the top ends of the league. Is because they're still playing the 4-3-3. Yes, you're right in personnel, and you can't legislate for bad form. 100% accepted. But I just think we're overdoing it, guys. We're overdoing it. And I had a look at how City played against United. And this is my point about having protection. What they're doing at the moment is they're allowing themselves to get closer to the big man. So Foden, Kevin De Bruyne, Grealish are all getting close. But what they're doing is with United, they played the 4-3-3, they played the 2-3-5 on the ball. But Cancelo was literally playing as a 6. If you see his heat maps, he was literally playing as a 6. So which gave him them protection in midfield on the counter-attack. And then the Walker is sort of sitting on the halfway line. If he needs to come in and make an extra man in midfield and cover De Bruyne, who gets further forward, they allow that. And you go to Arsenal as well. Zinchenko is protecting their midfield, and Ben White, who naturally isn't a Trent Alexander-Arnold or a Reece James. Just, the way he plays, and he can play as a third centre-back as well. But I just feel like we just need to go back to basics a bit. Yes, the 4-2-3-1 gives us options. But I believe what Klopp's going to do, guys, I think we're going to revert back to the 4-3-3, but play just with a bit more balance, a bit more control. Don't go gung-ho. And it's not because we have lost our legs. Is that because we're, conceding the first goal in the last, 10 games out of the 12 previous games? That's not because we lost our legs, lads. We don't lose our legs in the first 5-10 minutes. It's because we just go gung-ho and we're playing. And I saw our Brighton sort of heat maps. Shimikas, comparing to City and Arsenal, Shimikas is, I think, the third highest position player on the pitch. And, coincide that with the fact that the Trent is high and inverted. So many gaps in between our fullbacks. Teams are going to take advantage of it. But look, it's going to be interesting to see what formation we go. I think we're going to have the same conversation throughout the season. And it's fascinating to see and intriguing to see which where Klopp goes. But personally, I think it's the formation that we're going to revert back to. But I think when sort of teams are parking the bus, just like Rangers did, it just gives us a few more options to play an extra attacker. And I think the way Klopp had this in mind is he's going to play the 4-3-3 around 50-60 minutes, and then the 4-2-3-1 or the 4-2-4 for 20-30 minutes. But I might be wrong, and we shall see on Sunday. Right, what else have we got? You wanted to discuss Nunez, Avi, and Rangers. Yeah, his movement was brilliant.
Yeah, no, just, I know Haaland is getting all the plaudits right now, and rightly so. He's an absolute monstrous player, and he's taken the Premiership and the Champions League like duck to water, and fair play to him. But I thought Darwin, the pressure that he's been on the media and the sending off, that didn't help. I thought on Tuesday he looked so much better. He looked better in terms of his cohesiveness with the players around him, like Salah, like Diaz. He wanted to be more involved. He was up for it. He kept going again. He didn't let the first chance, second chance, third clear-cut chance, bring him down. He was going again and again. And that's what you need. You need a player like that. Similar to, I don't want to say it, but like Luis Suarez, who, if you got a little kick to the heel early on, he'd always come back fighting. He'd come back again and bite you in the backside later on in the game. And I thought Darwin had traits of that. And, that period where he's got to go on a run, it's coming very, very soon. And I hope that it's against Arsenal. So it was just a little mention about Darwin, his work rate. He deserves a little bit of praise, deserves a little bit of praise for his performance on Tuesday.
I think, Avi, there was a clip where I think he was going on. He said to Van Dijk in Portuguese or Spanish, whatever language that they speak, that it's just not going in. I think he did everything bar score. And like you mentioned, it was the Rangers goalkeeper had a blinder. So, it will come. I've got no doubt in his ability. I think the way he runs into space, his timing of his runs are fantastic. You get players that are always on the shoulder, then always caught offside. He's not one of them. He times them perfectly. He's got fantastic movement across the line. So it will come. It's just we just needed to start clicking now because, and it's difficult for him because he's coming to a side which is struggling, and whereas Haaland's gone into a side which are firing on all cylinders. So it's been in a difficult start for him, and then the red card didn't help. So all in all, I think he will come good. It's just now I think we've got a sort of way of playing, and I think this 4-2-4, well, whatever you want to call it, 4-2-3-1, it will suit him to the ground, especially against the lesser side. So it'll be interesting to see. I just want to get him to get a goal, get his season going properly again, and hopefully we'll see the fruit.
And we've got to stick with it as well. Like, I hope Klopp understands that Darwin is not a game that, Darwin Nunez is not a player that you can just sort of drop because it's, it's a lesser of a Champions League opposition, or, we can drop him and Bobby on or a Jota front forward. He needs to play him now, because that's how we're going to get the best. These especially South American players, they feed off consistency. They feed off playing week in, week out. It's that lion mentality in them. We saw it with Suarez. He never wanted to be dropped. Whether it was at the 90th minute, he would always kick up a strop. And it's the same for Darwin Nunez. He needs to be playing now. And as long as he plays well and scores goals, just stick with it now. And ultimately, this is what he's been brought in for. These what the management, the scouting team brought Darwin Nunez for, is to create havoc in the final third. And on Tuesday he did that against Fulham when he was brought on. He did that. Could have scored 2 that day as well. I know he got the one and he set up Salah for the assist, but play him consistently now, because that's how we'll get the best out of him.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I agree that formation suits him down to the T, because he gets those guys a lot closer to him, and he's not a player. He doesn't have the technical ability at the moment and announced to play the Bobby Firmino role in a 4-3-3. He's a box-to-box player playing between the posts. And I think what's sort of growing on me is that sort of partnership when Salah comes off the wing, dribbles past his marksman and plays that sort of ball down the side channel, where Nunez, the relationship that them two are building at the moment is looking good. And you can see Salah is really, really up for him scoring a lot of goals. And even I think he picked him up once, and that was that little clip. Was that fake? Where he was talking to was it in Spanish or Portuguese? Sorry, who was he talking to? Van Dijk. What did he say? What did he say? The ball doesn't want to go in.
Yeah, the ball doesn't want to go in.
Yeah, something like that. Do you want to give us the translation, Avi? Was it Portuguese? Go on.
The Spanish ain't up to date. I don't know what the translation is for.
Cuentre.
No. The goal will not go in. The goal will not go in.
Something on mano. I remember the word mano.
On goles en no próximo.
There we are. Quickly Google.
Golos en no se próximo. It's not possible. Goal is not posible.
He could be staring at the 18, but they've all we know.
No, he never won't put it past him.
They're gonna get up, yeah. But look, my point is he's running on the shoulder of the defender, and I like that. And he popped up a few, in a brilliant positions. So look, that formation suits us, and I also like Jota's position. He's not a Bobby Firmino, and I know Klopp said he was a striker within a 4-2-2, a 4-4-2, sorry. But I liked him picking up in those positions, and he's not a Bobby. He doesn't have the technical ability as Bobby, but what he does give us is speed.
At times when I was watching Nunez and Jota, it reminded me of Niall Quinn and Kevin Phillips for Sunderland. If you remember all those years ago, it reminded me of a little and large relationship. It is because sorry, carry on. Jota at 25 now. This could be his next facet in his game, because we all know that Jota is a great finisher. Right, his finishing is great. His goals to ratio is great, and we've always questioned his work rate and his just link up play. And this could be it. He might have been working throughout summer and working especially on his sort of close touch, close control, his link up play with the Salahs and Diaz, because he can definitely contribute more in terms of assists. Sometimes the goals won't come off for him, but he can definitely assist, and he should be getting more assists than his worth. Last I think he might have picked up 6 or 7, but he's a player that should be more creative because he's got it in him.
Yeah, but Gene, do you see Jota starting? I know he likes a goal or two against Arsenal, but do you see him starting in a 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, whatever
I
it
want him
is?
to
I think.
start. I want him to start in a 4-2-3-1. Especially, he with Jota in the horse, he gives us directness. He gives us something, a player that can actually pick up the ball and forget about this playing the intricate ball and all of that stuff. Bang, he's going towards that. He's gonna race towards their race towards their defenders. So it gives you something completely different. And I think we lack that. He brings pace into our side as well, and he's happy. He's a pressing monster. He's gonna hassle and harry and do all of that. So I want him to start with Jota. I just think, what, bring it on. Arsenal have been giving it the big talk. Let's go out. Let's go against Arsenal. Let's go with the 4-2-4 and let's just blitz them, because I can't remember the last time we've blitzed anyone where we've been on the front foot, where we've gone all out, where it's a chance after chance after chance. It's been a long time. And I just feel as though with this side, with this formation, hopefully it will give us solidify our defense, but also we'll be able to cause the opposition a lot more problems with the front four.
Yeah, I love that, because what teams can't do when Bobby's playing is, even though Bobby's popped up and with a few goals, is they can't just squeeze us, because they know that he's not going to go the other way. With Jota, he came up on these spaces and he spun, similar to what Mane did last year for us in that role. Yes, they're both not technically gifted as him, and they're not going to connect the play. But what they can do is spin and get closer, and sometimes go beyond Nunez and go into the box. So it gives us that unpredictability that Klopp and everyone else has been talking about.
And he's very quick on the turn as well, Jota. I think that's the difference. Like whereas Bobby will take his time and he'll be a little bit slower in terms of progressing the ball forward. Jota's very quick and thinks with instincts with his first touch.
Yeah. I know we've discussed a trend, but I wanted to just share a few images that I used on my thread on Twitter. So if Waxy can put them up, I'll show you what I want. And I know this was in a 4-2-3-1 formation, but if he puts some slides up and I can sort of tell him which one's the right one. I think he's never done it before, but yes, look, this is the 3-2 sort of setup that we had. So Hendo, was the double pivot with Thiago, and Trent is obviously really, really deep compared to where we're used to seeing him in. Normally, he's sort of parallel to Thiago. And if you can see Shimikas, he's beyond. Is that Diaz? He's making a run. So yes, this was the 4-2-3-1, and it was solely focused on. Yes, it was Rangers, and we knew we could sort of express ourselves with more attackers. But I think it was also, we have to, sort of consider the fact that Trent needed protection, and the way he got protection in this formation, it was allowed him to sort of pop up in these positions deeper, because there's two ways of getting from A to B, isn't there? The ball. You're either a progressive, player like Bernardo Silva, where you can sort of carry the ball and progress. Gini Wijnaldum was a similar player, sticking with Liverpool, a similar player for us. But Trent, and this is one of the reasons why I don't want him in midfield, is he can't have the space in midfield. He needs a quicker speed of thought. He needs to be a lot more dynamic and mobile. His best days will be in this position. Why? Is because he gets more space. And in a 4-3-3 at the moment, and Gene, you touched on this last week, is as soon as Trent is getting the ball in higher positions, he's getting closed down quickly. He's getting closed down. And this is the slide. This is the 4-2-2. So this is why he got extra protection. In a 4-4-2 press off the ball, you see Salah is tucking in, and Trent is the spare man. So if the guy next to Trent runs and makes that run, he can track him. And it's not a coincidence why Trent made just nearly the double amount of ball recoveries compared to the Brighton game. That's not a coincidence. There's been a lot of talk about Trent being a bad defender. But I've been telling my friends, especially the United fans, saying, look, any footballer, when he's facing the play, when you're facing the play, you can sort of, judge where the marksman's going, rather than turning back and running the other way after having to create the chance 2 minutes prior to that. You're going to be a better defender. It's not the fact that he can't defend. And I know what Gary Neville talked about on Monday Night Football, saying he needs to be in a better position, he needs to be low down, he needs to be on his toes. I accept that. Those are basic individual things that he can prove on. But in terms of a positional sense, Trent had a lot more protection in this 4-2-3 system. But, the downside is Salah is tracking back there, and sometimes you'll have to say you're sacrificing your best player. But this was another dynamic of the formation. And this is where I think it can work in a 4-3-3, where Henderson is normally in Jota's position, where he's playing the 8/10, and we don't have the protection when we do lose the ball. This is the perfect example of why in a 4-3-3 it could work, where Trent is high, no problem. I don't have a problem with that. But Henderson is there and to win the ball. That was the thing I was talking about. When he is too high up, we're in a position and we're committing far, far too many people further forward, and we're just sort of too vulnerable for the counter-attack. And then this was another, aspect of the game where in the 4-2-3-1, the 3-2-5 build-up is where we see Trent sometimes popping up with these sort of different variations of our attack. And look at Henderson. He pops up in alongside Matip. So if you're getting too predictable, he can always rotate. If he's going forward, and he can still drop into midfield. We saw once he popped in midfield in the first half where he played that ball down the channel to Nunez, and I think he got cut out on that occasion. But it shows you the variation that Trent can do in a 4-2-3 system. Whether it's a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-3-3, I think is the position of Hendo is very, very important. Look at the way Odegaard gets protected by Zinchenko coming into midfield. Look how the likes of Cancelo and Walker protect Kevin De Bruyne when he gets close to Haaland. I think that's where, yes, our players are tired, they're mentally fatigued. I accept all of that. But at the moment, I think we just need to go back to basics, whatever we're doing. And sorry for the podcast. You're on mute.
No, sorry. No, look, honestly, I totally agree with everything that you've said. And especially, look, he's one of our main players. And if that's him, if it means just going back to basics, which is going to firstly solidify our defense, and then secondly, going to give us a lot more threat going forward, especially with them four, then I think it's a no-brainer. And this is why I want us to actually start the 4-2-4 against Arsenal, because I think, we shouldn't fear them. They, if anything, they should be, I know they'll be slightly, looking at it as a slight favourites, but make no mistake, they're playing Liverpool. They know there's one side that are capable of getting a result against them. It's us. And they'll be shitting bricks as well, thinking this is the one game that, this is the one side that we just can't get one over. So we shouldn't be feeling fearful of them. We're still Liverpool. And if this is a system that works for us, and I know it was only Rangers, Avi, but we should be confident and think to say, you know what, let's just go with it. Let's see what happens. What if we go and put one over Arsenal? Then we're going into that Man City game completely different, with a completely different mindset. So we shouldn't be fearful of them. Because I genuinely liked that system, the way we played. That we looked like a side again. We looked like we were creating chances. And people can say we created chances. Again, before that, I said, we created chances, but we don't look threatening now in that game. Every time.
I tweeted as well. There was imagination on Tuesday. There was something that the players felt. You know what? Let's work with this. Let's create things. It wasn't the rigidness of what we've been used to. Which has kept us very successful for the last 5-6 years. There was imagination. There was a bit of innovation. There was
freedom.
Freedom. That's a great word. There's a bit of freedom with everyone. So look, I'm all for it. I know Asim's a bit apprehensive of playing that, but I would definitely be playing that on Sunday, because look, if we're going to go back to the 4-3-3 and say it doesn't work out in terms of the result, then it's going to be what if. At least one way or another, we'll find out, because Arsenal are a very top team, and we'll know whether this formation can stick, or whether we need to maybe look at going back to the 4-3-3 against City.
Okay, guys, let's go to your teams then for the Arsenal game. I'm just writing mine down. Give me your teams. Are you guys going to stick with the same team against Rangers?
So we'll go with obviously Alisson in goal, Trent, Matip, Van Dijk. I would love to see how far, but I think the game might be too early for Konate, especially the pace that they bring. Simicast. So same front for Hendo, Fabinho for me, and the front four will be the ones that played against Rangers.
So Hendo, is that the same team that you're going with, the team?
Yeah, but I don't think Thiago's going to start. I think he's going to just simply because I think he wasn't, especially wasn't shown in any of the pictures in training yesterday or today. So that's a bit of a concern. And Mr. ITK did mention to us he's injured at the day of the injury, so I have to give him credit for that one. And even though me and you went to town on him, but if he doesn't start tomorrow, he's going to give it to us.
Call me a dickhead.
All right, I'm going with a 4-3-3. Trent, Matip, Van Dijk, Shimikas, Fab, Hendo, Thiago, Salah, Diaz on the flanks with Jota up top. That's what I want. Jota has to play against Arsenal. He has to.
You're dropping Darwin.
Darwin for
I'll drop Darwin.
yeah.
I'll drop Darwin. I want Darwin to come on 3 against Arsenal with about 20 minutes to go. Hopefully, when we're not chasing the game. When there's a lot more gaps. Well, look, I don't mind. I'm actually happy the way it worked. But look, guys, a bit of perspective. It's a very small sample size. It was against Rangers. Let's see. And if he does go for it, look, I'm all up for it. And it'll be interesting to see how it works out against the better sides. But predictions. Predictions.
Oh, that's been a great show. Chalo,
You know what, Sim? Moses is gonna be laughing his head off because every time we get one, we haven't. I think you've got one, and we've just been. Oh, I don't even want to start.
I should
with
go
these
with what my head
predictions,
says, not my heart says, because I've probably been right most times, but I don't. I just say what my heart feels after hearing. You know what? Gina's so positive. That's the problem. So it makes me think, shit. I've got to match Gina, so I'll go with this. But you two go first.
No, you go first. Then don't match me. Then you can go. You go first.
No,
you say
you
what
know
you want.
what Abi's doing. We know what Abi's doing in China. He wants 2 predictions now. He's mentioned he wants one with his heart, one with his mind. Whatever he gets right, he'll say, I told you. Okay. He wants 2. So if you want 2, I'll give you 2.
I'm going to give you one prediction. I think it will be 2-1 Liverpool. And I think Darwin Nunez will score on Sunday. I'm going to go for 2-1. 2-1 Liverpool.
2-1 Liverpool. Darwin, what? How many goals for Darwin?
He'll get one. And then I fancy Diaz to score. Actually, he's been about 2-3 games he hasn't scored, and so I fancy Diaz and Darwin and Diaz, and then they'll get a consolation.
Gene?
3-2 Liverpool.
Ooh, high scoring.
I just got a feeling it's going to be a high scoring game, man. They're on form. The front players are on form. I think we'll cause them a lot of problems, especially if we go with the 4. I think there's going to be goals in this game. And Salah 2, and I am going for Diaz.
Salah 2. I was actually going to go for, I think it's going to be a 3-2. I'm actually worried about how Shimikas deals with Saka. That's my concern for the game. But I think I was going to go for 3-2 as well, but I'll say 3-1. 3-1 Liverpool. I can't say 3-2. So I'll go for Jota to get 2. And I think Salah's going to grab one late on. So there you have it. Let's see.
Jota scored twice the last season, didn't he, in the League Cup semi?
Yep.
At Emirates. And
the league. And the league he scored.
And the season before that he scored 2 as well.
Yeah, he did.
2021 season.
And he scored at Anfield. He loves Arsenal, doesn't he?
He's going to score. Well, yeah, I think that is it, unless you guys want to do something and discuss anything else. Avi?
I'm sure Avi's probably got something.
No.
Definitely got something up his sleeve, knowing him.
No. I'm happy to be back. Happy to be back on Fridays. We'll probably do a post-match. I should be good for Sunday. So I'll do a post-match and we'll see who is out there who's willing to come on. Might ask the guy who's blocked me to come on the show. 20 minutes.
Man.
He might ask for a fee. So let me give him a buzz. Let me give.
Brilliant. Okay, brilliant.
That's it though for me. Glad to be back, boys. Glad to be back.
Oh, glad to be back. Yeah. So stay tuned. We'll do probably a guest from the Arsenal fan base for the post-match reaction sometime, maybe Monday or Tuesday. There's Myra trying to come into the room once again. But yeah, thank you very much for coming in, and stay tuned for all our content coming up with the on the road, off the road. We're not off the road yet, but Liverpool season is not off the road. It's going back on the road after a big win on Sunday. Smash a like on the way out, and thank you very much for joining us today, and we shall see you soon. But after these guys' predictions, I don't know, after the much anticipated clash on Sunday, you never know. Probably get a massive boring 0-0 draw. But whatever it is, you'll see us on the road with the post-match reaction. Thank you very much and good night and take care.